Good morning, everybody. Orange J here with another Sword of Convallaria video, and today we're going to talk all about leadership aura buffs in Sword of Convallaria. There is a lot of info floating around the internet about these. A lot of it is wrong. I've been talking about these a lot. They are OP buffs that certain characters can just give to their whole group. However, they stack in some ways, they don't stack in other ways. Not every character has them. Let me tell you in this video how they work so you can take full advantage of them on your teams. Now, as an example, Mytha is a character we all have, and she has access to a leadership aura. It's rank 7, and hers is Battle Flag of Convallaria. Every leadership aura buff in this game, by the way, for all the characters that have them, is unlocked at rank 7. What hers does is for all Sword of Convallaria allies in battle, increase attack 10% and defense by 20%. Now, let me tell you how to read this, because this was the first thing I messed up when I was reading these. What this does not mean is that Mytha herself gets 10% attack and 20% defense for each Sword of Convallaria character in battle. So if there's 4, she's not getting 40% attack and 80% defense. Instead, how that works is every Sword of Convallaria character in the fight gets 10% defense and 20% attack. So that's actually how that reads. Now, the characters that have these auras, I wrote them down on paper, and I'm going to read those to you real quick. I will come back at the end of the video and go over them and tell you which ones I think are good. But Dantalion, Mytha, Gloria, Cole, Rawia, Samantha, Magnus, Xavier, Miguel, and Lilywil are your characters that have leadership auras. Each of them affects a different either group, like Sword of Convallaria, a faction, or some of them, as in Cole's example. We'll pull up Cole real quick. Cole's aura is for Alacrity type units. So it either affects like a type of unit like Alacrity or a faction like Sword of Convallaria or Iria or something like that. Now, what I want to do is jump into a fight real quick and show you how these buffs stack or don't stack. They do stack a little bit. Let me show you. Okay, now to set this up, I want to show you that Mytha is considered from 2 different factions. She is from Iria and she is from Sword of Convallaria. So here's the setup for the fight that I have. I have Dantalion in this fight with his aura buff for Iria, which affects Iria characters by giving them 10% attack and 20% defense, and their attacks deal 20% more damage to enemies affected by 3 or more debuffs. I also have Rawia in here with her aura, Sword of Convallaria, which gives 10% attack and 20% defense to Sword of Convallaria characters, and damage dealt by 8 increase attack by 10%, defense 20%, damage dealt by 8%, and decrease their damage taken by 8%. Absolutely great. And then Mytha is in here with her aura, attack 10% and 20% defense to Sword of Convallaria characters. Mytha, in theory, would be affected by every single one of those. However, let's click Start the Battle and see which buffs she's actually getting from that. Spoiler alert, she is not getting like a 30% attack and 60% defense buff. So here you go. Everybody's going to move once, then we'll go to Mytha and we'll click on her buffs. Here's what she's getting. Her leader aura is giving her 10% attack and 20% defense. That could be from hers, that could be from Rawia's, it could be from Dantalion's, it could be from any of them, but she is getting 10% attack and 20% defense. She is also getting the Sword of Convallaria buff from Rawia, so she is dealing 8% more damage and taking 8% less damage. That's all she's getting from Rawia. She's also getting for Iria, so increased damage dealt to enemies by 20% if they have 3 or more debuffs. So here's how it works. She is getting this 10% attack and 20% defense from somebody, from one of the 3, it doesn't matter which one. Then she is getting the special part of Sword of Convallaria from Rawia and the special part of for Iria from Dantalion. So the buffs stack correct, and I've heard a lot of people say they stack. They do, but the stats don't stack. You don't get that 10% defense and or 10% attack and 20% defense from each one of them. You only get it once, but you do get that bonus, that extra little bit, which is one of the reasons Mytha's is not actually that great. And when I've gotten a lot of pushback on telling people maybe not to take Battle Flag of Convallaria for her because it's only the like flat 10% and 20% defense, like it doesn't give any extra. So if you're running Mytha Rawia, you just run Rawia's aura and it's better than this one, and it will just completely override it. So that's how they stack. They are still insanely powerful, like insanely powerful. And that's why what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for the rest of this video and talk about the different leadership aura buffs in the game. I just wanted to make sure you guys understood that, like, that's how they actually stack. And it makes some units like Cole, for example, even more valuable, because Cole's aura gives alacrity type units 15% crit rate and 15% damage. So if you can have Cole's aura for your alacrity units being also getting buffed by like just adding that extra crit damage on top is just really good. It's really good, especially for assassin units. So that's how the buff stacking works. Now, let's talk about each character who has it. We'll start with Dantalion. I've already showed this once, but let me just tell you if I think they're good or not. He gives the attack and defense buff. I'm just going to probably say that every time, but his is a good one. It has an extra effect for area units. You'll do 20% more damage to enemies affected by 3 or more debuffs. If you have a reliable way of debuffing enemies, it will increase your damage by 20%. Crazy good. Crazy good if you can apply debuffs to get 20% more damage, and either way it is already given that attack and defense buff. The next one was Mytha. So Mytha's, I already said, I don't think is very good because it's just that 10% attack and 20% defense. So if you have another way of applying an aura buff to your group, use the other one and let Mytha just equip another skill. And if you look, Mytha's other option at rank 7 is a heal, and it's not like, this is where Mytha starts like falling down tiers in my opinion, because rank 7 is such a power up for a lot of characters in this game. She gets a weak aura and bandage, which is a healing instant. It's not great for her. This is one of the areas where Mytha kind of falls short, but she is a free character that we all get along with dupes. Now next is Gloria. Gloria's Vow of Justice is really good. For the Union allies in battle, there's that attack and defense buff, same as everything else, but when performing an active attack, damage is increased by 12%, and when being struck back, damage is decreased by 24%. The reason I think this one is so good is it has no qualifier. Dantalion's increases damage by 20%, which is more, but you have to have 3 debuffs. Here, Union allies will just do 12% more damage. Hello, that's insane. So Gloria, very much worth getting that and running it if you can. The next character that had one was Cole. So let's look at Cole's again. Cole got that attack and defense buff, and I just love this one because it's perfect for assassin type characters. 15% crit, 15% crit damage, crit people hard, crit people more. It's one of the reasons why Cole won't like fall off on later tier lists, because that aura buff is just so good. Even if she's only buffing herself, I call Cole a boy so often. Like that mask, yeah, wow. Anyway, okay, Rawia is the next one, another character that we all get for free, and we already showed her aura once. It's great. It's got that attack and defense, and damage dealt goes up by 8%, and damage taken goes down by 8%. It's for Sword of Convallaria characters, which we all have a lot of. Very much worth running, especially in the early parts of this game where Rawia shines the most. Her aura will make your Sword of Convallaria heavy teams, which probably a lot of people are running, that much better. I will say the drawback of Sword of Convallaria is it lacks epic units. Like if you like to use epic units, you only got Stormbreaker. So it is what it is. Okay, it's not that big of a fallback actually. Samantha is the next one. Samantha's aura, Flag of the Popple States, is just like Mytha's aura. It only gives the attack and defense buff. So if you're playing her in a group and you have another way of getting a buff onto your team, go ahead and do that. She's one of the, I believe her and Mytha and Xavier and Miguel all kind of have that same thing. So you'll see those when we get there. Okay, next up was Magnus. So Magnus, where are you at? Here's Magnus. Let's take a look at his. I don't actually have him skilled up yet, but his aura is Blood and Steel for all Fortitude allies in battle. So it's a class. Fortitude allies, attack and defense go up, decrease the damage taken by 10% if they're healthy, becomes immune to the negative effect of the injured state. That's so good. That's so good. Like if you're hurt a little bit, this injured debuff sucks. It sucks. So being immune to that is pretty nice. Now you're not immune to dying, but you do more damage if you're healthy, and if you're injured, you still do more damage because you don't have this 20% reduction and 20% increase in damage taken. Very, very good. Worth running if you are playing a bunch of Fortitude type units, which are these units you see on the screen. Some very popular ones, Gloria mixed in there. Yeah, Gloria. You buff Gloria nicely. Okay, next up, that's Magnus. Xavier is the next one. I've already kind of hinted at this. Xavier does not have a super great aura. It's an area buff, it's attack defense, that's it. So just a basic one. If that's what you have, use it. But what's his other option? On these weaker ones, I do like to look at their other option. For him, it's Spear of Iria, where he becomes fully energized start of battle, gains speed 3 for 2 turns with a cooldown of 5 turns. Again, not like the, I mean, yeah, it's Xavier. He's cool looking dude. I like Xavier a lot, but yeah, that's okay. Miguel's up next. Where's old Miguel at? Here he is. Miguel, what's your aura look like? You have another one of the basic ones. So his is for all drifter allies. Increase attack by 15 and defense by 30. The thing I do like about Miguel's is because it's for all your drifters, it hits an interesting array of units, right? Including unit we don't even have yet in Ida, but it also hits a lot of these lower rank units, a lot of them. So that's something to consider with Miguel, but it is just the basic aura. And Miguel looks like somebody who'd be chilling with a bunch of basic people. Let's be real. And then last, Lily Will. Let's look what Miguel's other option was. Miguel, what was your other rank 7 option right here? You would get a blinding powder. So you inflict blind and damage down 2 on a target. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, you might just take that on Miguel. Give him an AoE blind. Okay, Lily Will. Man, there's a part of me that really wants to like Lily Will. I just don't like furry type characters in general in games. But let's look at Lily Will's aura. It is for the Vilder. Vilder. It's for the Vilder people. They get attack 10%, defense 20%, and movement 1. Which on paper looks kind of weak, right? Like movement 1, why is that not like 20% more damage or something? Y'all, movement 1 is good. Giving movement 1 is real good. I think this aura is just up there with the rest of them. The amount of more like strategic gameplay you can do with movement 1 opens up a ton of options for you. And guys, there's your aura. There's your aura legendary units in the game. That's how aura buffs work. I think they are incredibly OP. I think it's worth trying to play around them if you can, and stack them if you can as well. Just remember, you don't stack that basic stat because that's not how it works. Okay, thank you all for watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.